Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome here to this beautiful beach in Surfside, California. You can see Bob Osborne sitting behind me. Maybe he'll catch a fish during today's report, but I'm going to tell you, things are changing. I think the light switch has gone up because we saw some conking going on up there in the Channel Islands. Great sea bass fishing, some big ones too. The bluefin tuna bite came back yesterday, and there was some good nighttime fishing for some of the boys. Slowly but surely, we're starting to creep into it. There was daytime bluefin and some kelp paddy yellowtail and so much more going on, including some nice halibut fishing, sea bass fishing, big yellowtail, and so much more. We have got it all for you because you know what time it is. It's Friday morning, and it's time for the morning briefing. Good morning, my friends. I really need that this morning. It is so good and so great to be back with you all. We got a lot of information to cover with you. Don't forget, this weekend is the big surf fishing tournament, and you can get involved in it by signing up either Saturday or Sunday morning at Big Fish Bait and Tackle, Island Fishing Tackle, 22nd Street Landing, or the Redondo Rod and Gun Club. All the details are there for you at www.redondorodandgunclub.com. Don't forget, on Saturday night, the Freedom is going on a day-and-a-half trip out of 22nd Street Landing. The Amigo's on a one-day trip, and there's a lot of great signal and sign. Things are really, really looking up. Hey, how about we just jump down to Taiwan for 1 second? Jump over to Taiwan. My brother Paul conned a fisherman to go out and get him a lobster. They turned it into a great meal, and while they're eating, the guy and his friends brought in some sailfish. My brother can't get away from fishing no matter where he is, in Taiwan or here in the U.S. It looks absolutely fantastic. All right, let's get into the bluefin tuna bite out of San Diego, because that made significant progress yesterday, both in the daytime and at night last night. Let's first of all talk nighttime. Just got off the horn with the Pegasus. Our dear friends on there, Jacob Barclay, is on board, and he said, hey, we're having some pretty good fishing, both in the daytime and at night, diametrically opposed to the slower fishing that we've been experiencing here recently. And they put on 24 bluefin tuna in the 20 to 100 pound class. Jacob said the 250 to 300 gram jigs, we like those SK jigs, but whatever it is you want to fish with, really worked well. And he said there was fly line fish in the daytime. So that's when that rod with that, 25 to 40 pound fluorocarbon, www.optionusa.com, put in FA at checkout. That's when that is going to come in super handy for you all. It works really, really well, and hopefully we're going to see more progress here today. There were other guys that got into night bites last night, and then there were some guys who missed. But for the most part, that bite really made significant progress. And we saw it on a boat called the Game Changer, who runs out of San Diego. Toby was on board, and Toby said, it was really slow, and it was kind of like the bottom of the ninth, and we were hoping we would find something, and very close to Point Loma, not far at all. They go over to Jag a Fish at night, and they end up with a great night bite. 6 guys, 16 bluefin tuna for their 2.5 days. Nice fishing for them as they put together a really good score. Now, Toby also made this point to me. He said he saw kelp after kelp after kelp, absolutely loaded with yellowtail, and they were very finicky and didn't want to bite. But he said there is a lot of fish around town, and we see that manifest itself from time to time when one of the full day boats ends up catching limits of those yellowtail, mostly 5 to 10 pounds, a few bigger than that, but there's a lot of them around, and that's good news, because those yellows are going to flood into our islands up here in this neck of the woods, as well as down there at the Coronado Island. So that is another good signal. Listen to me. Here's the beautiful part about this season right now. I know we're bucking up against June right now, but the water temp is so cool. It's more like early spring, and that's why we're getting off to a little bit slower start. The great news is our awesome fishing lies ahead, and while we've experienced spurts of it from time to time right now, we're going to get into some really good fishing. I'm telling you that right now. By the way, I did an albacore forecast update. I'll run it at the end of today's morning briefing, so you'll be able to check that out. Yesterday, the San Diego full day boat out of C4 Sportfishing leaves in the morning, comes back that same day, ends up with 35 bluefin tuna in the 20 to to 40-pound class. Best score we've seen in a long, long time. That is excellent fishing. They also had 15 yellowtail. You can hardly beat a day like that. That is magnificent fishing. A lot of that on the fly line baits, on that tackle that I just recommended to you, and also the Daiwa Zakana or similar type lures, 100 to 150 grams in the daytime, also pretty effective in this bite. So we definitely saw an uptick in the bite. And as I mentioned, there were several other guys that had night bites last night, and there's some pretty good daytime fishing as the boys are just getting out there. And as that water temp warms, you're going to see those yellows on the kelps make even more of a significant show. I am stoked about what we are seeing. Thunderbird, he was at San Clemente Island as we jump up here out of Davies Locker in Newport Beach. Made plenty of squid, no problem there, and then caught all kinds of beautiful sheepshead and quite a few of those 15 to 18 pound fish. That was really good. Ended up with 6 halibut and, of course, a mess of rockfish to go along with it. The Pride on a 2.5-day trip out of 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro fished several different areas. My lips are sealed, Sean. I know where, but my lips are sealed. And had magnificent fishing. I will tell you that right now. 2.5 day. 14 guys, 26 white sea bass, most of it in the 20 to 30 pound class. 24 big yellowtail. Now, most of those yellows were, I want to say, 15 to 30 pounds, but they had a couple that were pushing 40 pounds. Some really gorgeous fish, and they were biting on the surface iron. Some of their bait rolled their sardine, but they had surface iron fish that were just chewing it up, and that's what I call excellent fishing. They had 7 flatties to go along with it, and then, you know, rockfish and some calico bass and all kinds of other stuff. It was really just a trip to remember. The Apollo, remember we were talking to you all about this trip that was leaving? They end up with limits of white sea bass and tremendous fishing on board the Apollo. I talked to Greg Obi-Mako, and he said, Phil, we got it done, and we're ready to rock and roll as the season just progresses and seems to get better and better. And once again, remember, Freedom, Saturday night. Amigo, Saturday night, 22nd Street Landing. That is really starting to look good. Catalina Island, the other day on the Pursuit, and the Pursuit's headed there right now. The Pursuit had 9 yellowtail. Yesterday, the Native Sun, 3/4 day boat out of 22nd Street with 4 yellowtail, but they went through a dozen fish. Really good signal now. It's a couple days in a row we've seen that. I'm thinking we're going to see more yellows here today. And once again, this season is going to be late. It already is, and it's going to get better and better and better. So when you're jumping on one of these local boats, you're going to want to have some 25 and 40 pound at least, because you're going to fish the deep water cod, and some of these forkies are big. So keep that in mind as we are definitely seeing some great signals. How about the Channel Islands yesterday? Magnificent bite on the CJ. The guys on the CJ limited out on white sea bass, had great fishing, and we were talking to them and they said we were done at 7:30 in the morning on our sea bass bite. Tremendous fishing for those guys. The Pacific Dawn, what a halibut bite they had with 12 flatfish, nice big fat ones. And man, I'll tell you, that Channel Island area, you're looking for sea bass right now, you're looking for halibut, and you back it up with some of the best rock fishing you will ever see. It's really great. How about the Endeavor? Tucker McCombs doing it again. Another great trip. They only had 11 guys. They went on an ultra limited load, a 2-day trip. 15 white sea bass, tons of rockfish, but the quality on the sea bass on the Endeavor was mind-boggling. Most of it 30 to 50 pound white sea bass. How on earth can you beat that? And I told you the other day they have 2 openings on a trip that is coming up, and you would be smart to call Steve to get on that one, because it looks like it is going to be an absolutely wonderful trip. It departs on May 22nd. May 22nd. It's a reverse day and a half trip is what it is. Reverse day and a half trip. Steve, 661-212-4417. I didn't even know Steve. I started promoting the trip, and he said, hey, did you know someone named Nancy Tippy? I went to grammar school with Nancy Tippy. That's his mom. That's what a small world this is. It's really crazy stuff. Up there locally, we're seeing some really good fishing. To California with my friend Steve Virtue was out on a Dan Hernandez trip yesterday, and a couple of really great guys checked in with me. Steve Bermudez had a great trip out there fishing his Daiwa electric reel, his 500, and Steve said, man, I'm skipping trips to the chiropractor. I don't have to go get a massage after these trips anymore and get in trouble with my wife. Man, I just push the button on my Daiwa reel and it reels it up. Limits of bottom fish for Steve Bermudez on there and Jack Sepulveda. Jack, good to see you, my friend. Jack was on board and said, man, we had easy limits on the bottom fish. Absolutely outstanding fishing going on. So what can I tell you? Fishing right now is on the upswing. No, not everybody got them up down in San Diego. No, not everybody got them in the Channel Islands, but we certainly took a step in the right direction. It looks good. And don't forget, tonight, just for all of you, I have planned a grunion run right down here. So we are going to have some grunion on the beaches tonight. That will kick that surf bite into gear. Of course, for this big surf fishing tournament this weekend, remember, www.redondorodandgunclub.com, and you'll be all set for that. And of course, we're watching the San Diego bite. I have a sneaking suspicion that we are going to be breaking in today with updates. We try to do short updates so we can get you caught up on all the breaking news in less than 1 minute. At least that's my goal, and we will for sure probably be doing that here today as things are looking good. Little breeze here this morning, overcast, albacore type weather, and as I said, I'm going to run that albacore forecast next for you, so stay tuned for that if you're interested in that. And you know, we've compared this year in terms of the water temperature and the just the ocean's environment. We've compared it a lot to 1997. June 1st, 1997, San Diego had, I think, 60-something albacore in the LA Times, and Newport had 13 albacore, something like that. They had a shot of albacore in June in that year, 97, which is very comparable to this year. All right, my friends, I don't know what to say. It's a beautiful day. It's a great time for you to go sport fishing. It looks like it's on the upswing for the weekend, and I sincerely hope you get to get out on the water and have some fun. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe to these shows, and as always, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us, and I hope to see you really, really soon. Take care, my friends. Hey, great to be back with you all. This is your albacore forecast update. There's some breaking news that we want to get across to you that is very, very interesting and bodes well for a coming albacore season here in the San Diego area. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this is all going to come together. I admonish you all to go back and watch our original albacore forecast because we laid out a scenario where albacore fishing out of northern Baja and southern California looks really good. When you get to this time of the year, this is when it can go sideways. This is when the water gets too warm. In the 2 previous years, things were looking fantastic. We got to around this time of the year and we knew it wasn't going to happen, but we'd already made the prediction and we were kind of screwed on that. But right now, we are looking at conditions just holding perfect. The water remains cold. There's plenty of bait around, and things are looking good. And now from Tom Holland, Captain Tom Holland, he works his fingers to the bone, making sure that I have current albacore information and that so that you have current out. He's been watching 2 jig boats southwest of the Cortez Bank. That's pretty close. And they've been hanging out there for a few days. So we don't know if they're catching albacore. We don't know what they're doing out there. Who knows? I mean, but the fact that there's a couple of guys and they've been there for a couple of days is very, very interesting. And also some other information that I think is really, really interesting also. Alex is a guy, he runs those service vessels. Perhaps some of you have seen them. They push those big black bumpers in between the ships. They're out there kind of around Cortez, sometimes Mushroom Bank, in that neck of the woods. And Alex was talking to Tommy and telling him, man, at night, I haven't seen this much bait flipping under my lights for a long, long time. Now, he didn't identify the bait, and Tommy didn't ask him what it was, but I'm hoping that it was anchovy. If that is the case, man, that bodes well with all that feed in the water. And he did say that he couldn't believe how perfectly blue the water was out there. That clean blue, maybe purple blue albacore kind of water. that we like. So there's a few more things to add in to this crazy season. With this bluefin tuna kind of MIA, at least for the time being. Hopefully it'll get back in the picture here very, very soon. But for that to be missing right now, this gives us some hope. Will albacore be the savior of the 2023 offshore season in SoCal and northern Baja? Only time will tell. But I can tell you this, that we've seen all these great signs. Remember I talked to you about that correlation between Lake Tulare in the San Joaquin Valley that was dry and now it's full again? In the past decades, when we've seen that occur, it was either the start of an albacore season and the subsequent year was wide open, or it was a great year that very year. And also that rainfall that we've experienced, tremendous rainfall, which has been something that seems to go hand in hand with a great albacore year. Anchovy around and the cold water all bodes well. So we have a little bit of activity, a couple jigs boats southwest of Cortez. We'll continue to watch that for you. And also Brandon Cassar, who loves to just watch this albacore situation, he's very excited about it, has been mentioning more Spanish jacks are being taken on the kelps. And we used to catch jacks like that all the time in good albacore years. It's still all speculative at this point in time. It's fun to dream. Hopefully things are going to come together. But when you get to this time of the year and conditions still look good, man, it could actually happen at any point in time. All right, we'll keep you in touch with all of this. We thank you so very much for coming to the Friedman Adventures channel. Make sure you share this with somebody. Make sure you hit that like button. That means a lot to us. Subscribe to the channel and hit that bell, and you'll be notified whenever there's new content. Thanks again. Have a great day. Keep your fingers crossed for those long fins to show up soon.